I'm still managing to keep up my 100% request to video ratio. So when I was asked recently to put together a list of affordable white watch dials, I thought it was only right to oblige. Achromatic dials are really interesting to me because unlike white clothing and footwear, it's actually possible to keep them clean. Not only does white have a heap of positive connotations and very few negative ones, but like black, it's easy to pair with most outfits, so it makes for a really safe choice when it comes to selecting a dial. Before we start though, just to deal with some of the nomenclature I'm going to use, white is an achromatic colour. It's a combination of all the other wavelengths of light, but it lacks any hue. There will be some people who've been brought up hearing arguments over whether or not white is a colour or a shade. I'm not getting into that debate, but trying to script this video without using the word colour is a real pain, so I'm going to use it on the achromatic technicality. With that said, let's have a look at the rules I followed for this video. The predominant colour of the dial must be white, not silver, not grey, but white. The watch must be available under the $1,000 mark, either through sales, discount codes or other promotions, but can also be second-hand prices. I'll flag that up where appropriate. And finally, I'll only feature each brand once for the sake of variety. With all that said, let's get into the video. I'm not going to get political with this. We all know there is meaning associated with wearing rainbow colours, and that might attract you to or put you off this model. Regardless of that, I think given what we've said about achromatic dials and how they combine all the wavelengths of light, that actually a rainbow colourway makes a fair bit of sense when it comes to a white dial watch. Personally, I think it's extremely gaudy, but there's no denying that the Rolex Rainbow Daytona is a very popular model commanding an excessively high price point. If you like the multicoloured aesthetic, this is a strong budget option. If this colourway isn't for you, there are a wide range of other models and sizes available with a few different movements on offer too. I'm going to be featuring a couple of them on the channel in the coming months, so keep your eyes peeled on the subscription box if this is a watch of interest to you. Now, the version you're seeing footage of here is a marble gemstone dial. While I would argue that this is definitely a white dial, I do understand that some people in the audience might quibble over that. However, there is a white wave pattern dial as part of the range, so if this isn't white enough for you, you're still covered. I've got a full review of this model on my channel already, which I'll leave a link to in the video description if you want more detailed information. What I'll say here is that from a value proposition, I think it's genuinely going to be very difficult to beat the San Martin. The quality to cost ratio is ridiculous. Not only that, but whether you go for the marble or white dial variants, both are strong options. Regardless of which you prefer, you're getting an attractive model with an interesting dial, excellent build quality and finishing, with great value from the specifications and materials used. Not only that, but you're getting date and GMT functionality, all for under $300. There's always a temptation with Casio to feature them at the very cheapest end of these lists. For me, that would often be a G-Shock. However, the Oceanus range began as a JDM only line, but has recently expanded overseas. The newer international models are significantly more expensive, but the T200 range represents a much lower price alternative, as the range originally launched back in 2019. The models are constructed from titanium, both case and bracelet. They feature Neo Bright Lume on the hands and indices, a depth rate to 100 meters, and a solar-powered quartz movements. The watch picks up the time automatically from radio wave receptions 5 to 6 times a day, and will also maintain the correct date display thanks to its inbuilt calendar. It's relatively subtle, but there's also a single pusher beneath the crown to allow for stopwatch functionality. So you're getting a lot of the features you might expect from a Casio, but in a far more traditional, lightweight and attractive model. In recent months, I've been giving serious consideration to the Citizen Ciosa small seconds as an addition to my collection, but the crown position is always enough to sway me into not making a purchase. The Forza range has a somewhat similar design language, and I was considering featuring one of the automatic versions with the sub-second dial, as they actually seem to be available for less than this model, given that I think they are a little older. However, long-term viewers will know that for me, dimensions are king. These new EcoDrive models are slightly smaller in terms of lug width, in terms of thickness, and in terms of diameter compared to their automatic older brother. Not only that, but you're still getting that beautiful textured dial, which is another one of my top considerations, and the EcoDrive movement. I can appreciate that for most people, an EcoDrive isn't necessarily going to be preferable over an automatic, but I haven't ever had a solar powered watch in my collection before, and I did just spend a considerable amount of time making a video on the history of Citizen and looking at how they developed their technology, so it definitely is a selling point for me. Now, clearly, as the video is about white watches, I'm featuring the white one, but given that this is a watch I have a very real chance of buying for myself, if I'm honest, I'd probably go for the green or salmon dial variants, as I think they highlight the texture a little better. Studio Underdog's O2 series full moon model was a strong consideration with its crisp white full lume dial, but it comes in just over the $1,000 mark. So instead, I've chosen to feature the Goofy Panda in its place. If you've seen the O1 series line of models before, you've most likely seen the famous watermelon version or perhaps the pizza inspired model, but there are many more funky inspirations besides. Studio Underdog are a British brand, but the most famous element of the watch outside of the design is the Seagull ST1901 powering this manually wound chronograph. Now, it is more than possible to get a watch with the Seagull movement for a lot less, but you aren't going to be guaranteed quite the same level of quality control as is on offer here. The issue with featuring a model from Studio Underdog is that the supply doesn't meet the demand. Their website is perpetually sold out, so the real cost of the watch is likely going to be higher than indicated, as you'll only really be able to find them available from scalpers on eBay. The Trident Pro 300 is available in 3 different sizes: 42, 40 and 38mm in diameter. So regardless of your wrist size, you've got a very good chance of getting the perfect fit. While at this point it's very hard to describe any dive watch as unique in terms of aesthetics, the split metal bezel ring is at least uncommon and, in my opinion, is a very nice finishing touch. This is an extremely clean and well proportioned design with an excellent set of specifications, Swiss made on the dial, and an excellent exhibition caseback that shows off some of the customised features of the Sellita SW200-1 movement being within. As with the San Martin featured earlier, this is the model I've featured on my channel before, and there will be a link in the video description if you want a more detailed review. I would say that the price listed might be quite hard to come by now, as when I bought mine, Christopher Ward was still offering sizable discounts through their in-house magazine Loop. Not all dials are made equal. Enamel is a dial material that's created by heating silica-rich glass which has been ground down into a fine powder under huge amounts of heat till it forms a thin layer of material on top of the base metal dial. This process is repeated again and again until it forms a layer of colour that will not fade like other materials. It takes a great deal of expertise to craft enamel dials because every time it's heated to add another layer, there's a risk of cracks, bubbles and imperfections forming. Usually these kind of dials are reserved for well above the $1,000 price point. The SPB 047J1 bucks that trend massively. but it is worth noting that their tolerance for bubbles, cracks and imperfections is not going to be anywhere near as high if you were to buy a model from, say, a Lang & Söhne or something of that ilk. Now, if you like the sound of an enamel dial, but the design of the Presage doesn't take you, the Nereide Ceramica is an option for those of you with a larger wrist. It's a 42mm diameter dive watch with a lug-to-lug of 49mm, so it's too big for me, but with the same solita movement as the Trident, and featuring a ceramic bezel insert and a white enamel dial. The Ceramica boasts an impressive set of materials, specifications, and a fairly standard but nonetheless attractive design language. I wasn't familiar with the brand until I was recently put onto them by a message in the comments of another video. I'll just pause to say that that's my favourite thing about running this channel. I don't claim to have the most in-depth horological knowledge out there, so any chance I get to educate myself on brands, movements, materials, I love it. Back to Venezianico, they are a Venetian micro brand established in 2017. And they take their design cues and inspirations from the area's rich history. They have their own physical store and are stocked by a large number of retailers globally. If you're new to hearing about the brand, that should inspire you with some confidence. And they're also 4.9 rated on Trustpilot with over 600 reviews, if you put any credence in that as a metric. There are white dial watches, and then there is the White Cap. If you're looking for something that really pops on wrist that people are going to notice, then the Super Seawolf range is a good direction to look. I owned one of these models until recently, and sold mine not because I didn't like the watch, but because I'd bought a subdued colourway and I didn't think it was really in with the spirit of the range. There is no such issue with the White Cap. I imagine this looking just as fantastic with beachwear as it would in ski gear. It's the kind of design that makes it clear you are up for enjoying life. As Zodiac and STP are both part of the Fossil group, you can also make the argument that this features an in-house movement too. I did manage to get this in basket just under the $1,000 mark, but that was with a limited time discount code. So I'm putting the price at $999 because realistically, depending on when you search, you might pay just over or just under for this model. I still think it's entirely fine to feature on a list like this because if you were to shop on the second-hand market, there are watches available in great condition well under the price point. It's a very classically styled dress watch, which boasts an automatic movement despite its party piece of being only 7.3mm thick. And thickness is an important consideration for a dress watch because you want it to be able to fit neatly under a cuff. You're also getting a blued second hand here, which is a really nice premium feature. Those were, in my opinion, the top 10 best white watch dials that money can buy for under $1,000. As you can see, I've tried to give a wide selection across that price bracket and a range of different styles. What do you think of my list? Are there any models here that really caught your eye? Or do you think that there are other more deserving models that I've missed? Let me know in the comments section down below. As I mentioned at the start, this video was produced as a response to a request from a viewer. So if there is something specific you want to see from me in the future, just let me know. As ever, thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen or found it informative, consider dropping the video a like and subscribing for more content like this.